Everybody. I'm not for sure where Ben's at, but I'll keep admitting people. Emily, do you have your a PowerPoint?
I do have some slides I can share.
Okay. I don't know where Ben's at, so
He messaged me and said he was having trouble getting onto Zoom.
okay. Are you able to share?
Sure. Did you want me to just get to kick off, I guess? Or did you?
I don't know. I just wanted to know if you could. I don't know if you had something set that it wouldn't allow you to share, or
Oh,
I didn't
gotcha.
know if
Okay.
you had like an opening slide you wanted to put up while we're waiting for him.
It looks like I'm able to share, so. Looks like I might have to share not in full screen. So can you see the Google Slides?
Yep.
Just let me know when you want me to get started or how you want this to flow.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. Sorry about the delay there. I don't know what's going on, but having issues with my Zoom. So appreciate that you all got in. Thank you. I'm going to try to help some other folks get connected in here, but Emily, I think maybe with given the circumstances, I'm just going to turn it over to you if that's okay and let you get started.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So welcome everyone. I'm Emily Gradup and I'm with the Nutrition Education Program in Lancaster County for Nebraska Extension. And I'll talk a little bit about the work that I do in Lancaster County, and then kind of as a broad bucket of what it looks like to work in the food system in the area of nutrition education and how that all kind of fits together. I have a few slides to share and a little bit about our work, and look forward to any questions and comments that come along the way. Feel free to chime in at any point, because I'm not sure how much you might know or don't know. So hopefully I won't be too repetitive here. Within Nebraska Extension, we have a kind of department or division called Food, Nutrition, and Health. And here in Lancaster County, and specifically in Lincoln, there are 3 extension educators working on this front of food, nutrition, and health, trying to make our community healthier and people in our community healthier, and make the healthy choice the easy choice by changing our systems to make our environments healthy as well. And then we also have a team of 4 extension assistants who are also working in the community. So quite a bit of FTE or human power behind trying to help people increase the healthfulness of their lives. And within the food system, we, depending on how you kind of categorize your food system, we're in primarily this area of consumption, or like getting the food to the consumer. We do a teensy bit in the production area, and not directly, but just through some grant work that we do, and I'll talk about that and how that all fits in. But I thought I would start with just the consumption side and some fun facts about the consumption from like a national perspective. So I'm defining consumption as the acquisition, preparation, and eating of food by individuals, households, and communities. And that's how we see ourselves fitting into the food system, is helping people choose healthy food. We want to make sure they have healthy food available to them to choose. And then we want to equip them to be able to cook the healthy food, or eat the healthy food, consume the healthy food in some capacity. So some fun facts. I find these interesting, that in 2010, the US food supply provided 4,000 calories per person per day. And typically the average person needs somewhere between 1,800 or 2,000 calories to 2,500 calories. And you can see here the average American consumed around 2,500 calories per day, which is an increase from 1970, so a 22% increase. And obviously we're making and producing more calories than any individual needs, so we're looking at some food waste there. And then kind of it's interesting as well that 22.2 teaspoons of sweeteners are available per capita, when in fact there's actually 0 recommended amounts of sweeteners, but there's a recommended limitation to sweeteners, and that would be at around 6 to 9 teaspoons. Definitely not up to that 22 teaspoons of sweeteners per day. So just another little interesting tidbit. And then you can see how some of our food system might be contributing to this last little fun fact, that approximately 41% of the US adults are in the obese category, which is having a BMI of over 30, which BMI itself is a less than accurate measure of weight, but it is one of the best measurements for looking at data from across the nation when you're looking at public health. So just another little interesting tidbit there as well. So those are some of the fun things I like to think about when we look at that consumption side of the food system. And what does this look like across our state? So within our food, nutrition, and health area, we have coverage across the state, with the exception of this one area in kind of northeast Nebraska that has a vacancy. But you can see how there are people contributing to this area of consumption and healthy food and healthy environments across the state. And you might notice that even my picture is not on here, and that's because this map on the slide doesn't include our nutrition education program, which I'll talk about next. So the nutrition education program is specifically focused on reaching those who are limited resource. So they might be facing food insecurity at a higher percentage or greater rate than others in our state or in our communities. And the nutrition education program is funded by some federal grants through the USDA and NIFA. And those grants are called SNAP-Ed and FNAP. So you can see their logos here on the screen. And those are funneled through Nebraska Extension. And those grants give us a whole bunch more people to focus on building healthy consumption in certain areas of the state, and specifically focusing on our work for those people who are limited resource, or again, they might be facing food insecurity. We have buckets for our work. So we're looking at the systems of health and creating systems change from the whole community, the whole state, and then down to the individual and the family and the like community little micro system that they operate within. So I won't go into all of the details here, but you can see some of the like different programs that we have that are in these different systems. We have direct education. We have these PSC initiatives, we call them policy system environmental initiatives, and they're working constantly on building partnerships and coalitions to help move healthy food access forward. So what that really looks like when you get into the nitty-gritty of it is a lot of education. We're educating youth, we're educating adults and families, and then we have these community-based initiatives. One of the programs that we have that's accessible to absolutely everyone is called The Dish. It's The Dish. We'll talk about food, and it's actually a website that contains evidence-based information about how to eat a healthy diet, how to prepare foods, how to budget for healthy food on maybe a limited budget. Lots of great information, and it's completely open for anyone to access. We also have some specific nutrition education, in particular right now, we have a grant that's helping us do nutrition education in relation to hypertension. If anyone is experiencing hypertension or has high blood pressure or a history of it, or is taking care of a family member with that, we invite them to explore we have a virtual class going on right now, and then we have in-person classes going on across the state. And just to give you a snapshot of just the breadth of work that we do, this is just a screenshot of our website, which has a ton of information. So if anyone on the call is looking for more information about this consumption aspect of the food system and getting people connected to some of our resources or healthy food access, our website, food.unl.edu, is a great place to go. We have our recipes. A lot of people visit our site because we have really great recipes. They offer nutrition facts information for each recipe. And then if you go specifically to the NEP, Nutrition Education Program page, you'll find recipes that are especially low in fat and sugar content, so they're extra healthy. And then you can just see all the different age ranges that we work with, and the different programs that are offered, things like Food in the Field, Growing to Nebraska, Husker Performance. A lot of those I won't really get into, but I wanted you to be aware that they're out there, and that our website is a really great resource and place to go for connecting maybe the people in your communities or the partners that you have. One of the things that we have that connects, I think, most directly into this like space of food systems and looking at this from a food systems perspective is the seasonal produce guides. So these were created to help us take garden fresh produce and get it into the hands of people who can then cook it and consume it. And we want to help people not only cook and consume it, but select the right produce, know how and when to harvest the produce if they're gardening it, or if they're growing it themselves, or maybe they're at a farmer's market and they need to know which one to pick out of the pile, you know. And it is focused on produce that they could find and grow in Nebraska. So this is the Nebraska Seasonal Produce Guide. It's available, these materials are available on our website. And I know we printed a Nebraska Seasonal Produce Guide last year. I'm not sure if it's accessible for anyone, but it might be available for a fee. But again, the resources are all available also on our website. And here's it's just some pictures of some of those resources. So we have handouts and flyers. There's some recipes that are like 2 on a page. They're easier to hand out. There's like shelf labels or like produce labels if you're working with maybe a farmer at a farmer's market, or maybe you are a farmer at a farmer's market and you want to label. There's some labels here with multiple languages. So if those are needs of yours, again, you can find some of this information either by connecting with us or going to food.unl.edu/produce-handouts. I also wanted to make sure to talk about one of the areas, and I don't know if Cindy is on the call, but I think Cindy Bryson is part of this group and can talk more about this, but we have a really robust food safety and food preservation team as well, which obviously fits within the food system when you're looking at the consumption of food and the preservation and reducing waste within the food system. So there's more resources available, again, online, food.unl.edu/food-safety. And then there's lots of ways of following and connecting with us, so you can keep up with some of the new content that's released. Another example of this, what is some disaster preparedness or emergency preparedness. So like if you follow our pages, we'll put more information out if there's maybe a like for example, when power outages were happening this winter, there was information that went out about how to keep food in your refrigerator from going bad. So sometimes it's a good thing to have to follow us because we'll put out some timely information as needed. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about healthy food access and healthy food systems. And this is an area that I work in a lot, just thinking about how do we get people access to healthy foods, especially if they can't afford that. We want them to be able to, we want everyone to be able to access healthy food, and for health to be accessible and affordable for all people. So how do we do that? It's just a really big question and something that we kind of chip away at slowly. But we do have this Healthy Food Access webpage, and the webpage then links to different health promotion materials, information about how to retail for people to select the healthy food, how to ramp up a food pantry to get the more healthy foods available in the pantry. And then there's a page that's called I Need Food. That's just specifically for linking people to food resources or sources of like benefits so that they can go and get food, such as SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or WIC, which is Women, Infants, and Children, and that's specifically helping women who are pregnant or postpartum with up to age 5 for kiddos to get food access. And WIC is really interesting because they give out a check specifically for like fruits, or a check specifically for vegetables, or whole grains, or low-fat dairy. So trying to get the healthy food out to people as much as possible. If you're in the Lincoln area or around Lincoln or Lancaster County, one of the things that we've done this year is develop flyers and handouts to help people know where to go to access healthy food. We've gotten some great feedback about this from our community members, saying that this has been needed for a while. So we divided the resources by days of the week. So if a particular person or family is maybe facing not knowing where to get their next meal and it's a Monday, they have a list of places where they could go to potentially access food on that Monday. We also know that we have some people who don't have a microwave or a stove or even a can opener to be able to access food. So we also have a handout specifically for no cook food access. So they could go to a hot meal program or grab a sandwich from any of these places and not have to have utensils or the ability to cook the food. And I mentioned early on that we have a little bit of work that we do in the production space, and that would be tied into this next project that I'll talk about, which is Growing Together Nebraska, which Terry James on this call helps lead. And we have some gardens here in our county in Lincoln. But there's also gardens across Nebraska. So you can see the map here. It's a little blurry because I decided to add like a backsplash to this. But the purpose of this project is to divert some of the SNAP Ed funds, so some of the funds we would use for our nutrition education, divert some of those to help actually build gardens so that we can grow healthy produce and get that healthy produce into food pantries or food distribution programs. Again, just another way that we're trying to create healthier systems, a healthier food system, so that we can get people who are lacking access to food access to actually healthy foods. And we rely very heavily on Extension Master Gardeners to be the experts, the growing experts for us, and then on our SNAP Ed team members to go out and do some education on how to select and prepare some of the produce that's grown, so we can make sure that everyone, all these 20,000 people that are served by the 44,000 pounds of food, that the food's not going to waste, that they're actually getting to consume that, and that hopefully they find that it's delicious. In addition to growing food, we also have some like gleaning programs. So produce rescue, and then also like a plant a row for the hungry or grow an extra row type program. And so we're trying to get more people to donate produce to specific areas, so then we can go and give that produce to some of those same programs that are giving out healthy produce with our Growing Together Nebraska effort. So like here in Lincoln, we have this plant a row for the hungry, and we're asking home gardeners to just plant an extra row, plant an extra seed, and then they can donate it back to our office. We'll take care of it from there, and we get it to these food distribution programs that already receive some of our Growing Together Nebraska produce, so they already know what to do with that, and we ideally get it to the person who's going to consume it in a timely manner so that it's not, going to waste. Okay, a few more things here. There's a lot of involvement as well with farm to school. I am not as involved in that, but there are people on the call who do more of that work. I want to point out that there's also some work happening in the early childhood space. We have a robust, it's called a Go Knapsack, but it's creating healthier environments in the early childhood area, or, for homes or centers. And one of the things they have specifically for these early childcare sites is a farm to EC, so farm to early childhood education. So just so you know, if there's a childcare center in your area, we can get them connected to Go Knapsack and then connected to the farm to EC. And in Lincoln, if you know of anyone, there's a specific grant opportunity available right now. I believe the application is due by the end of April for them to get funds to put in a garden or a raised bed, or even just like a container to do some farm to EC at their site or center. And then another effort that we have to help, again, with this healthier food system is a program called Double Up Food Bucks, or Double Up Nebraska. So we have these at sites across Nebraska, and we have them in 2 brick and mortar stores here in Lincoln, and the Sunday Farmers Market and the Hub Farmers Market. And if you're not familiar with Double Up Food Bucks, what it does is anyone that receives SNAP can use their SNAP to purchase fruits and vegetables. And then if they're purchasing those fruits and vegetables at a Double Up Food Bucks location, then they can get up to $20 a day to spend on more fruits and vegetables. And then, of course, we partner all of this with local farmers. So our brick and mortar stores have to source fruits and vegetables locally as much as they can. And then we also partner it with farmers markets so that we can then, be purchasing these things locally and supporting the local food system with this effort. And then I'll skip down here just to mention that there is also this component that's going on in a few counties here in Lancaster with reducing food loss and waste. And Michelle Kreibel is the contact for that and can be reached if you have any interest in getting more involved in reducing food loss and waste. And then I'll mention a few programs here that were shared on our food nutrition and health call earlier this week. And mostly just wanted to share contact information for these people. We have 2 new rural health educators that are working on prevention. So you can see Hannah in the picture here. And then she also has a colleague, Beth Nacky. They have a newsletter. They have lots of work that they're ramping up for rural health. So I encourage you, if you're in a rural area, to get connected with them. They're also looking at addressing specifically rural family stress and well-being. So there's a space there to get involved with that. There's some tractor safety training going on across the state and a link, and I can share these slides so you can have that. And then there's also an agribility program. Again, not the lead on any of those projects there, but wanted you to be aware of them in case you weren't already and get you connected to some of those resources. So with that's kind of the end of my slides. I'll stop sharing and see if anyone has questions or comments.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you presenting all that great information for us. Yeah, please come off mute, put your questions in the chat if you have any. Happy to take a little time here to answer some questions. While we're kind of waiting for that, Emily, I was just curious if you could talk a little bit more about, you mentioned the Grow Together Nebraska project and kind of the distribution centers that you're delivering the food to. Can you talk a little bit more about who those distribution centers are and kind of that relationship that you've built with them?
Yes, specifically in Lincoln, and I believe it's a similar model in the different areas across the state. But we partner with food pantries, and there's one like a hot meal program. But when we were starting this work, we looked for partners that were interested in having an on-site garden with a food pantry located right there, because those are easier for the distribution. So we have one like here at Connection Point. It operates as like a church. But I think they do a lot of just like community outreach. So they have a raised bed on site, and we help support that garden again with the master gardeners helping with the gardening aspect. And then the produce gets harvested and goes directly into that food pantry. People come to the food pantry then, and they have an increased rate of fruits and vegetables that they get to choose from. We also have a garden here at our Lancaster County Extension Office. All of the produce from this garden here on site gets brought over to that Connection Point food pantry. So then they have, again, another increased rate of people being able to select fruits and vegetables when they're going through the food pantry. And then we also try to make sure that we're connecting with the food pantry participants as much as possible to understand what they're going to want, what they might want to have grown and have available at the pantry. And then also to offer for them to help with the growing and the harvesting and just being a part of the solution in the healthy food system. So it's a partnership. It's really a community effort, and we're just one piece of the puzzle that can be, part of the solution of increasing healthy food access.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Looks like we got a question here from Patricia in the chat. Hi, Patricia. How you doing? She would like to know if, as a farmer, she can accept the SNAP program or only if she sells at the farmers market.
Yeah. So that's a really good question. For an individual to be able to accept SNAP or EBT, you have to have a SNAP or EBT card reader. And that's a whole process in itself, and that you have to apply and have to have a lot of documentation to get one of those SNAP readers. So typically what happens is that the farmer's market or the farmer's market manager manages getting the SNAP reader and that application process. So then they can then process the EBT for all of the different vendors at the farmer's market. So my guess is most farmers don't want to apply for to have their own SNAP reader. So they end up, going to the farmer's market and receiving SNAP through the farmer's market SNAP reader instead of having their own personal one. So typically that's what we see.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right to me. And Patricia, I will send you a document that kind of walks through the different steps of applying for that, and happy to meet up with you. And we can kind of walk through what needs to happen, because it is possible as an individual farmer to accept SNAP, but it is quite the process to go through. But we can certainly help you kind of walk through that. Do you know, Emily, are they still offering those card readers for free?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be that those were free, and I think that's still the case. But at some point, I was thinking that maybe that funding ran out. But I will check on that for sure, and reach out to you, Patricia. Other questions from the group? Let's see here. Okay. All right. Looking at the chat here. Okay. I'm not hearing anything, so we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Emily, thanks again. I really appreciate it. Apologies to everyone for being late to join. I don't know what's going on with Zoom, but it's given me some troubles today. So apologize for that. I will send out an email. I do have a few kind of announcements and updates I wanted to share with everybody, but I will send those out over email so everybody gets them. And look forward to seeing you next month at this call. And thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of your day.